Okay. Hi, I'm Pete Martin. With my group here today, we're arguing or debating, sorry, over who or what the cause of the dinosaur extinction was. Um, my proposed reasoning was that an asteroid or an extraterrestrial body destroyed the dinosaurs. So a little background, basically, dinosaurs died 65 million years ago at the Cretaceous and Tertiary era line. So going to my actual theory, Walter and Luis Alvarez, a team of father and son scientists, first proposed the asteroid theory in the 1970s. All of this information also is from paleobiology.edu, which is the Smithsonian website. So what they found, what they're basing this off of, was that there's an unusual clay layer containing iridium-30, which apparently is barely ever found on Earth due to natural causes. They also found the same iridium-30 in over 100 sites worldwide, and the concentration of the iridium-30 gets far less pronounced the further away from their proposed impact site that you go. They also eventually found an impact crater in, let's see if I can say it right, Chicxulub, Mexico?
Chicxulub.
Yeah, Chicxulub. They found that quite a bit later, actually, but I don't think it was them. But scientists found the impact crater that was 111 miles across. So all of the math added up. They believed that for the asteroid to make the biggest impact where iridium-30 was found all over the world, it would have to be roughly 6 miles wide, and the force of it they thought would make a crater roughly the same size, and all of the dating matches up to when they found it versus when the dinosaurs started going extinct that they found. The impact was proposed to have been about as strong as I think 100,000, this might be like I might have actually made an error in my paper, but 100,000 billion tons of TNT, which seems like way too much, but it's a lot. So it would definitely have destroyed a lot of things. They think that the initial blast would have killed about half of all of the dinosaurs and most of the life immediately, but most of it was felt in the after effects from ash and soot that were accumulated in the atmosphere, blocking out the sun, causing winter for a long time, and also stopping photosynthesis, which would destroy the food chain, killing every species from the ground up. That's pretty much all I have. I have a bunch of points about why it wasn't some other stuff.
My name's Taylor, and so I'm going to be talking or discussing about continental drift and water levels and how it led to the extinction of dinosaurs. I believe that it wasn't volcanic eruptions or asteroids that caused the extinction of dinosaurs. Through my research, the most likely cause of it was, like I said, water levels and the movement of tectonic plates. So first I'll go over tectonic plates. They're one of the causes of the extinction of the dinosaurs based on some of the evidence I provided. Deformation of mountains and lands caused dinosaur habitats to fall apart. This caused continental drifts, and this caused dinosaurs to adapt quickly, which was obviously unsuccessful. And also, according to fossil records and from dinosaurs, dinosaurs were declining for several millions of years, so it wasn't abrupt. This supports the tectonic sea level theory rather than the asteroid theory. I do believe, however, that the volcanic theory is possible since it did involve tectonic movement. So what led to the rise and fall in sea levels? One explanation is the shift in Earth's tectonic plates, and that's a quote I found on National Geographic. So going on to sea levels. I'm going to briefly touch on the topic and then kind of circle around. So not only did tectonic plates contribute to sea level changes, but the climate did also. Since sea levels would have dropped, this would have caused land to become drier and less hospitable for dinosaurs to live long term on. This also supports my theory of dinosaurs gradually dying out rather than just suddenly being gone from the Earth through asteroid impact. And so, basically, what I have.
All right, my argument point is that it was volcanism that took out the dinosaurs. And so in 2009, I don't know the specific oil companies, but that's not really important, but some oil companies were drilling off the eastern coast of India, and they found lava-filled sediments about 2 miles below the surface. And this large bit of lava, it had fossils from dinosaur fossils. And so obviously that means that the lava was at least around the same time as when the dinosaurs were around. And what this giant lava fill was from was the Deccan Traps, which is a region in India, which is it's pretty much just a bunch of fissures in the earth where volcanic gases and lava spew up from the inside of the earth. And now the Deccan Traps are about as big as France, but it's estimated that during the KT boundary, which is the extinction period of the dinosaurs, the Deccan Traps were about the size of all of Europe. So it was a giant lava field pretty much at the time. And so it is believed that at this time these fissures started to spew out a bunch of lava and gas, like more than they had in the past. And this released a lot of sulfur into the air. And at least in terms of the oceanic life, the sulfur being released into the air caused acid rain. And what that does is it falls into the ocean and it kind of absorbs up all of the calcium. And what that does is that takes away this calcium that would normally be used for plankton. Plankton use calcium to build their exoskeletons. And plankton is many people think of it as the backbone of oceanic life. A lot of species stem from the plankton population, at least in terms of food. And so if you look in the fossil record, you can see a huge decline in the plankton fossils, which is an obvious indicator of extinction of not just the plankton, but of many other oceanic life. And in terms of land life, they were most likely killed by things that you could attribute to a meteor impact, like the ash covering the sky and creating climate change. But you can equally argue that it was these fumes from this fissure eruption that clouded the skies and made the atmosphere toxic and changed the climate. I have some estimates here of the amount of CO2, SO2, and fluorine, chlorine, so I'm going to read those real quick. This is how much gas was released by the Deccan Traps at the time. 33 trillion tons of CO2, 6.6 trillion tons of SO2, 66 billion tons of fluorine and chlorine. And to put that in perspective, now about 38.2 billion tons of CO2 is put into the atmosphere a year now. And that in comparison to 33 trillion tons is minute. And, well, maybe not minute, but it's smaller. And we already know that the CO2 that we are putting into our atmosphere now is creating climate change. So you can only imagine how 100 times as much would do much more damage. Yes, that's all I've got. I've got counterpoints, but I will let you go first.
So I mostly found counterpoints to the volcanism proposition. So the main problem, not me, but more smart scientists have found, is that the volcanism theory can't explain all of the iridium-30, and it seems like more of a nuanced, like, volcanism definitely happened, but it was like caused by all of the destruction that happened when the asteroid first hit. They said that the volcanism was probably a reason why a lot of the dinosaurs died, but the cause of the volcanism was the asteroid impact. Iridium is apparently found deep in the Earth's core, but not in the mantle where the volcanic material would flow out from. So it's kind of a mystery how that would happen. Also, some further evidence, still from the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, but they found core drilling. I think it might have been the same one you're talking about. I think it was 2009 too. They found the soot and ash off the coast of Florida, which actually contained pieces of the asteroid. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for my rebuttal.
Mine are kind of like discussion questions and things I thought were like interesting, and they're mostly have to do with the asteroid part. I'll do a quote from also National Geographic, and it said, the last thing I will, well, I said this part, but I said, the last thing I will end with this quote, I came from National Geographic. But the problem with this theory is that, talking about the asteroid theory, is that we have lots of large craters, 100 kilometers in diameter, caused by asteroids that aren't linked to any extinctions. And then my first question would be, new evidence suggests that the biotic evidence of the KT boundary didn't cause all the species extinctions attributed to the event in one go, but that the depopulation of Earth took place over millions of years. I was like gonna say, like, what's your response to this evidence, but we did that first. And then the last thing is, also new evidence says that dinosaurs lasted another 500,000 years after the suggested asteroid theory, and came up with, and it just supported my sea level tectonic plates. And to go off volcanism, I think that's more believable because, you know, tectonic plates cause eruptions. So I can see how those two can be linked to each other more than the asteroid just wiping out all of them suddenly. And then, so volcanism kind of supports mine a little bit because it's kind of more gradual, you know, with the acid rain and stuff. So.
Alright. I will start with you. You claimed that the continental drift destroyed habitats, which makes sense as a piece of land breaks apart. That's kind of ruined their home. But I don't think that would be enough to take out an entire species. I think that would do damage in some areas. And you did say it was a gradual extinction, and you kind of went on this, how that and volcanism kind of go together. And I would say that the gradual extinction is evidence for volcanism, or it could be that, but it's not evidence. It's evidence against a meteor impact, at least. And you claimed that iridium has only been found from asteroid impacts. And while this is for the most part true, there have been iridium particles found that were emitted by the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii, and there were iridium particles found that were they were erupted by the Piton de la Fournaise on Reunion Island, and that is very near the Deccan Traps. So that leaves some leeway to where the iridium levels could have been at least added to by the huge volcanic event in the Deccan Traps. Another thing you said was, well, you were talking about the impact crater was 111 miles wide, and that's huge. And my counterpoint to the actual destruction of the meteor was in the late Eocene, there were around 5 known meteorite impacts within about 5 million years of each other. and 2 of which left craters at about 100 kilometers, which is smaller than 111 miles, but it's still pretty large. And from looking at the fossil record, they don't see any, during this time period, they don't see any sudden decline in life. And so that implies that the meteor impacts don't quite have the impact on life that you prescribed. Oh, my last point. There are a couple places I found this. This one in particular I'll include in my bibliography. But this paper claimed that the Chicxulub impact was, it can be estimated to be about 300,000 years before the KT boundary. And so that a lot of people claim, like you said at one point, that the meteor impact could have started the volcanic eruptions. And while this could be true, if this and the other estimates are correct, then that would lend itself to saying that they did not actually directly cause the fissures to erupt. And that's all I got.
Any responses to some responses?